reveal the truth behind this AEW departure, and a former world champion is set to return to All Elite Wrestling. But first, Rey Fenix hasn't been seen on AEW television as of late. This since the Battle of the Belts 6 event in April, where he and Penta El Zero Miedo successfully defended their ROH World Tag titles against Powerhouse Hobbs and QT Marshall. After the match, Fenix is said to have been hurting before the decision was made to give him some rest, although the specifics of the knock are still unknown. With that said, he's now scheduled to face Gringo Loco at an upcoming AEW show on May 6th, meaning we will likely get to see him back in AEW or ROH soon. Now let's jump across to WWE for another injury update, as we now have news on the absent AJ Styles, who has been suffering from an ankle injury since December 2022. According to a fresh report from PW Insider, Styles is still nowhere to be seen both on the road or at the Performance Center as the waiting game continues, and the report notes, "We've been asked a lot about AJ Styles. He was not around WrestleMania weekend, and we are told it's just a matter of him being cleared to return from the broken ankle he suffered in December and being ready to perform. We haven't heard he's been at the WWE Performance Center or anywhere else on the road for the company." And next up we have a bit of an odd one, as in October 2022, a lawsuit was filed by former TNA and WWE developmental wrestler Raka Khan, alleging that multiple parties collectively conspired to kidnap her and her children. The long list of defendants includes The Rock, listed by his ring name, the late Chris Benoit, Jim Cornette, Mick Foley, former TNA and Impact parent company Panda Energy, the state of Texas, the FBI, the New Mexico Police Department, The Miz and Maurice, as well as a whole bunch of names listed on screen. In an update to the case, PW Insider would reveal that Biggers has been authorized to move forward with the case, with them noting, "There had been no movement on the case for months, but court records now indicate that in February, Biggers was authorized to move forward with the lawsuit with prepaying any court fees. Court records indicate she was notified by mail of this development in March at a home address she lists in New York City on the lawsuit." The 48-page lawsuit shows Biggers is seeking $3 billion in damages. The majority of the filing is a list of defendants, some of whom are listed multiple times. None of the defendants listed have been served as of this writing. It's unknown what the grounds are for her allegations against the specific individuals named. However, she has been facing her own legal issues as of late, with the report adding, "Texas court records indicate that Biggers still has a bench warrant out for her after not appearing for a criminal trial in December 2022 in Texas, where she was to face charges of interference with child custody and aggravated kidnapping facilitate. In the state of Texas, interference with child custody is when someone takes or retains a child, when that person knows that the taking or detention of the child violates a judgment or order. It is considered a state jail felony and can be punishable by up to 2 years in prison." In her lawsuit, Biggers makes reference to being taken to Rikers Island, a jail in NYC, after US Marshals arrived at her home in NYC to arrest her in October 2021, but they failed to provide a scintilla of evidence in a hearing about her extradition. She claims that the judge overseeing the hearing ordered her release, but the arrest and hearing allowed for the kidnapping of her children, and that the law enforcement agencies involved failed to intervene. It's certainly a strange one, and it doesn't look like it has much legs against those accused, but we'll see how it develops in the months ahead. This Friday night on SmackDown, the first night of the WWE Draft will take place, with every WWE superstar said to be up for grabs across the 2 nights. Not only are Raw and SmackDown stars on the table, but there could also be some call-ups from NXT, something we now have an update once again from PW Insider. According to the report, Ilya Dragunov, Pretty Deadly, Zoe Stark and Cameron Grimes all appear to be in line for a call-up, or at least have been discussed, although these aren't the only names in the conversation. On top of the PW Insider report, WRKD Wrestling have taken to Twitter to note that both Joe Gacy and Cora Jade are scheduled to compete in dark matches on tonight's Raw tapings, and are both seen as potential call-ups via the draft. Night 1 of the draft will go down this Friday on SmackDown, this before Night 2 will finish things off on Monday Night Raw next week. This past weekend, Stardom would hold their biggest show to date, All-Star Grand Queendom from the Yokohama Arena. The show would see the Stardom in-ring debut of Mercedes Moné, who would put her IWGP Women's Championship on the line against one of the company's biggest stars, Mayu Iwatani. Moné's appearance no doubt made this the most talked about event in company history, with the result very much being up in the air due to reports of her expiring contract. In the end, a new champion was crowned when Iwatani hit the champ with a two-step dragon suplex, scoring the win and her first ever IWGP belt. Well, despite dropping the title, it seems that she's set to stick around for at least a while longer, as according to Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer, a contract extension has been agreed. It is currently unclear how long the deal is or for how many matches. With that said, her next appearance was made official during the post-show scrum, where Mercedes revealed that her next stop will be in Long Beach, California, for the New Japan Resurgence pay-per-view on May 21st, as we await her next opponent to be announced. Last week, an interview was held with former Executive VP of Original Programming for the USA Network, James Andrew Miller, who would go on to reveal that individuals within Warner Bros. Discovery are interested in acquiring WWE programming for their networks, leading to questions on AEW's status with the broadcaster going forward. A report would then emerge from Andrew Zarian of the Mat Men podcast, who would note that he received a text from somebody within Warner that revealed they find it hard to believe that such a move would happen. In a further update to the situation, Fightful Select have done some digging and have revealed what they have found out regarding possible interest in WWE were they to lose NBA programming, and said, based on information Fightful has received, that hasn't been the case. Several WWE higher-ups had inquired as to whether or not that's something people within the industry have heard, and noted that they've not heard about that whatsoever. We're told there haven't been conversations regarding WWE with Warner Bros. Discovery. There have been conversations with several places that serve as possibilities, however. On the other side, sources at Warner Bros. Discovery actually tell us the opposite. There was nothing ill of WWE noted in our conversations, but they indicated that WBD is gearing up to substantially expand their relationship with All Elite Wrestling from both a financial and content perspective that will become evident soon. It was hinted that this involves the upcoming Collision show, as well as more possible content. Following a whole bunch of hires in the initial stages of the Triple H era of WWE, so far in 2023 we have yet to see any main roster signings. According to WWE higher-ups that have spoken with Fightful Select, there has been an effective hiring freeze in place since the beginning of the year, although this may not be an official term used internally. The report would provide some information of free agents that WWE have spoken to as of late, a list that includes Nick Aldis, Jay White, EJ Nduka, Hikuleo, Tamatonga, and Naomi, although of course so far WWE has yet to bring any of them in. Regarding Jay White, Fightful would confirm that there was heavy interest in landing him and they would have loved to have him, although there was a lack of communication in the latter weeks before he got signed by AEW. Some free agents that Fightful spoke to would note that WWE outright stopped responding to them along the way, with this believed to have been a result of the recent progression of a sale to Endeavor. Last year at the AEW Revolution pay-per-view, William Regal would make his AEW debut, with him going on to have a short stint in the company as the peacemaker for Bryan Danielson and Jon Moxley, before this led into the formation of the Blackpool Combat Club. Despite playing a pivotal role on television towards the end of 2022, Regal would ultimately leave the company in order to return to a backstage role in WWE, with him said to have been wanting to spend more time with his son and NXT superstar Charlie Dempsey. Since then, talk among a section of wrestling fans was that Regal took advantage of AEW president Tony Khan's vulnerability, as the two would talk about Regal's future in the company whilst Khan's mother was in hospital, the hospital that he was outside at the time, with him ultimately granting his release due to his understanding of his feelings of wanting to be with his son. Well, Regal has now responded to the claims, with him taking to Twitter this week to clear up a few misconceptions over the phone call and the circumstances surrounding his release, and he would note, "Just so anyone who wants to know the truth, I know Tony summed up a few conversations we had with a quick answer. FYI, Tony called me at 9 PM on a Sunday night and I discussed my reasons for leaving with time spent where I want to be. Then and only then did he tell me where he was and what problems he was having. I told him to get off the phone and take care of his family and he shouldn't be talking to me now. I also realized he has summed up conversations with brief answers. We eventually talked about me leaving 2 weeks later in Jacksonville. Time and time spent was the reason for my leaving, no agenda for anything else. I have lived through some serious times in 2018-19 and realized time is all I have. I had a great time in AEW and are thankful for the time I spent there with many of my close friends and the amazing crew. I just want to make that public so people stop misinterpreting it. It's sad that people in our job can't realize that you can be a decent human being without having an agenda or taking advantage. AEW have announced a big return for this Wednesday night as former ROH World Champion Bandido is set to take on AEW International Champion Orange Cassidy in singles action, with the title on the line. The masked luchador hasn't been seen in AEW since the January 18th edition of Dynamite and has been dealing with visa issues that have kept him off screens. The news follows a recent report from PW Insider that notes that these issues have been dealt with and that he now has received his visa and the process was completed over the course of the last week.